Welcome back, everybody. Game number 1 is about to begin here in Stage 3 of EU League. MnM Gaming versus TT9 ESPORTS is about to begin, and you'll see TT9 is a new name. Would like to welcome them to Rainbow Six ESPORTS.
Not me.
They pick
Am I
up
not new?
Pones. No, he's been around for a long time. He's been around.
Logo.
He's been around casting for longer than you, Jack. So respect your elders.
Yeah. He's about 5 years to my younger as well.
Yeah,
That's the thing about Demo.
He's got, 5 years a head start on you in terms of talent work.
Sad to think about it. What's happened here?
But it's all right because you still live with your parents.
Yeah,
No rent. I'm winner. I'm the winner. No rent.
Demo bragged to me yesterday that he still lives with his parents, so he's got one up on me.
I'm loved.
You're paying a mortgage. That's terrible.
You're the idiot. I'm doing a Dez. Dez lived with his mum and dad for ages. You're not taking. Actually, you do take the mick out of
And
Dez.
he's completely fine,
I was
right?
going to say, you're not helping
Okay,
yourself.
let's actually start off with what we're supposed to talk about here on the desk. I know Emmy's having a big old laugh about all of this. Talking about MnM and what they have to show. What do you think, Demo?
The team just keeps building. I will say that Jack kind of touched upon it on the seats was. I think the major was disappointing. Not only from, I think, the team perspective, I think they feel that they should have done better, but even for myself, because I think that this tide, whenever we've seen them at Invitational, you know, we said, okay, they actually have the makings of something here, and they can actually build off this. I think they go into the first split, start off really, really slow, but have a good comeback. It shows us something. They go into stage 2, they qualify for top 4, they've done everything we expected, but they just couldn't get out, you know. I think, like you said, the first day, I think if they went into that first game and they beat Elevate, that's all MnM need. MnM are a team where if they have just a bit of confidence behind them, they can do so much.
And I think that's the thing is, you know, if you look at the tournament in isolation, not great. You look at SI in isolation, not great. You look at the progression, and then one thing that we've not necessarily touched on so far in terms of this broadcast is the way that the meta is going to shift. I think it suits MnM's playstyle down to a T. I think they're going to excel in terms of this meta where it can be much more flexible. You can have 7, 8, 9, 10 different ways of doing things if you want it because of the EMP grenades, because of the operator balancing changes.
Attacker repick, yada, yada, yada.
If MnM can get that going, because MnM in stage 2, they had a very low attack win percentage. They were the 9th best attacking team. They were really bad. They got to the major on the back of being so good defensively. They bring that attack. If they get that attack flowing, and we know how good they can be on the attack, you know, that front three of MnM.
Any three of them
scary. Any three of them. If they get all three of them turning up, you're talking about a solidified top 4 team here.
What about TT9 on the other side of what they can bring, Jack? What are your thoughts?
Well, they're a bit polarizing for me.
Yeah.
You know, Milos, that I
like bears, polar bears.
Polar bears, yeah. In a way, I have loved to hate this roster because of their lack of map pool.
What a mean thing.
They are so good.
Fabian's not here. You don't.
Yeah, no.
You don't have to,
Pits in the face of a new
Fabian's gone. There's no negativity anymore. We're all happy here, and you're just ruining the fun.
Okay, I'll be happy then, right? I'll be very happy.
No happens there.
First day, give him a first day till you start ripping into people. We'll make that agreement.
No,
right?
look, in stage 2 and in stage 1, they really struggled. The reason that they're at the bottom of the league is because they've got a 4-map pool. Now, they've not chosen to make any changes. They've chosen to stay together.
Which is a good thing,
Which is a good thing. I'm hoping that in the weeks that they've had off since the end of stage 2, they've gone and improved their map pools. Because when they get on the maps that they like, they are very formidable. They are actually a really good team. And that's the big crucial thing for me about this team is, will they play a map they like? If they do, they'll be fine.
They've shown us that they can play basic Siege, which I think is always, for teams that are struggling, you need to try and find that. And I think they found their rhythm, you know, during periods of stage 2. Probably it was better than what we've seen in stage 1. So we know that this team did have improvements. We know that this team can give other sides a run for their money. It's a team that you just can't sit there and say, oh, that's an easy game for us. Oh, we'll run over them. That's not a worry anymore. This is a team who can actually play Siege. And I think other teams now need to realize that and step up.
Yeah, because they got close also. You know, there were so many moments where the squad could have made it into the top 4.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing is they can be ultra competitive. And one thing that I do want to say is the fact that they've now got the organization support behind them. I'm wondering if that might just be the missing link where, you know, we saw that when Wolves roster were LFO, they had, you know, as soon as they signed for Wolves, they had the organizational support. They felt safe. They felt supported. Pones were essentially, you know, orgless. They've now got an org behind them.
Doesn't org support solve your map pool issues?
It might not, but that's what they should have been working on in the off-season as well. So those two things might improve this roster to the point where they can be competitive in every fixture.
Like Jack was saying about having a new org, you're having a new home. That's going to give you passion. That's going to give you confidence.
Look at Wolves.
That's going to be able to drive your work ethic. You know, knowing that, okay, now we actually have somebody we're playing for. Let's get in there and let's actually, make them proud.
And also, individual players, they feel safe because despite being the bottom of the table team, despite being bottom of the league, they've stuck with each other. They've not decided to make a roster change because they believe in this project. Yeah.
So we talked about roster changes. We have a slight delay, by the way. No problem. We'll just kind of take our time. There's so much to unpack, so it's kind of perfect for all of us. That's true.
Sorry.
Though you talk about player swaps, but it seems like there's also been role swaps on the MnM side, Jack.
Yeah, so this is a thing that we heard might be happening with MnM, is that they might have a little tweak of the way that they play on the defense. Because we know the front three. We'll talk about Users, we'll talk about Soltov, we'll talk about Tyrant. Now, the backline for MnM also gets talked about an equal amount, Nello and Neo. Now, there's a little whisper that Nello and Neo might be doing a little bit of role swapping on the defense to put Nello in that more flex support kind of role. We've seen on Skyscraper that Nello plays the Azami rather than playing like a Smoke or anything that's the hard support. They're going to try and... what we've heard is that they're going to try and do more of that so Nello can spot opportunities for them on the defense. And their defense, by the way, was already formidable.
True.
And I think this might be able to help Neo, because Neo's been under cannon fire by a lot of people.
Yes.
And I don't think it's fair to Neo, because I think Neo, the role he plays, the position he plays, nobody wants to play those roles. You think about some of the suicide positions. He's supposed to die. He's not supposed to have a KD. That's not his job. There's other free players there. It's like asking, oh, your goalkeeper's supposed to score a goal. No, he's not. He's not supposed to score a goal. That's not his job. He's supposed to sit there and save the goals coming in. That's exactly what he's supposed to do.
But when they do, it looks good.
Yeah, fair enough.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm an analyst. I'm an analyst.
I'll come back from that.
You got the host. He's the analyst now.
Speaking of role swaps, I mean, you look at this change for Neo. This might give him something new. A little fresh air, because he's been doing the same thing for the past year. They've been the same for the year, and this it won't hurt them to do this. I think that's the biggest thing. There's no risk with it.
So let's talk about our map ends here. It's kind of we're aligning with our schedule and all set up. We go through our 9-map pool. Bam. Until we're hit with our last.
Sorry.
Properly hit yourself on this.
Don't do that.
Are you okay? Are you mental?
They're banning the same format.
How much alcohol did you have since Berlin?
Feels like, is this me whenever I was watching Helios Gaming? It feels like it.
For those that didn't see, Chalet was picked up by TT9. Why are you so angry?
Because this roster lost all of their games on Chalet in Stage 2.
But it's a completely different roster.
No.
But it's not a different MnM, and that's the scary thing, Milos, because this is MnM's best map by far.
It's not a different roster. They've not made a roster change.
Come on, man.
That's my worry about the map bans. I was hoping I would come out and I would see a border. I would see a Skyscraper. I would see I would see something that they're still forced into banning the same maps, and that's the worry. That's the worry so far. They did ban for Villa. They did ban for Villa. They did ban Villa.
Yeah,
it's a rough day one for all of us.
It's hard on that one.
They
did ban Villa in favour of going to Chalet. So they could have gone to Villa, but they played MnM there and got beat by MnM there. So it's had a very close game with MnM there. But yeah, I'm not sure on this roster and Chalet. We saw it so much in Stage 2, where when they played Chalet, they just looked like they lacked fundamentals. Every time they played Chalet in the whole of the last stage, in terms of TT9, there was only a mission that went positive every single time they played it. So that has to change. And I hope that's what they've worked on.
I will ask you to, as more demo, what are those fundamentals when they're lacking? Because I know we can, throw around those words sometimes. Maybe newcomers that are just coming in from Berlin might not know what those fundamentals that they might be lacking.
Well, I think Chalet is going to change a little bit in terms of fundamentals, how it's played. With a lot of operators getting their kind of gadgetry switched around, I don't think nades are going to be as prevalent as what we've once seen inside of the meta. You think about Finka, the big one, losing nades. Maverick doesn't have nades anymore, which is a big thing as well that you have to look at. And even just the general grenade radius from below it's minimized now. So I don't think the whole idea where Chalet, you're supposed to try and use all that burn, use as many nades as you can, I think we're going to shift away from that. I think we're not going to see top floor at all. I'd be surprised we see top floor. I think it's just a very bad sight. It's kind of became what Clubhouse is, the CCTV room, that top floor where it's just, once you get a wall open, you can't do anything to stop a plant going down. So very similar story with Chalet. So I think we'll start to see basement be very prevalent. Tim will be buzzing to see these basements.
We're going back to like OG Chalet.
Yeah,
with this.
The thing is that site, towards the end of Stage 2, that site actually became more prevalent. It was the go-to site for many teams. And I would actually argue now it's probably the best site on Chalet.
It's going the same way Barn Stock kind of was for Clubhouse.
However, the introduction of EMP grenades now means that you've got to play basement in a completely separate way again. So it's changed the dynamics on this particular map that realistically, there's 4 sites and none of them for the defenders are that great, if I'm being brutally honest.
Kitchen's my favourite personally.
It's a very fluid map in terms of who likes what site.
Yeah. Kitchen, I think, gives you a little bit more of a bite back because you have that top floor presence. You can do a bit of a roam game more. So, but I still think overall, this has always been, in my opinion, MnM's signature map.
Yes.
It's always, since they played in CL, and I see a lot of Chalet from CL from this side, it's always been their go-to.
Do you remember uses his clutch?
Oh, do I ever? Oh, do I?
Oh, do you?
And then you look at even the Berlin Major. Every team banned Chalet against MnM for a reason. All three of those teams in their group banned it. I don't know why TT9 hasn't done the same.
I might retract on myself because I forcefully smashed my head against the table when I saw
Yeah, whose
Chalet.
fault is that?
But the one thing that I will say is because TT9, I can't say this, TT9 chose to go to Chalet over Villa, knowing that it's MnM's best map.
It does say something.
It does say to me, even though they didn't look good on it in stage 2, that they must have gone away and worked with it. And that's the pedestal that I'll hold them to. That's how I will judge them at the end of this game is, have they gone away and worked on it or not? Or is it the same old?
So very quick, our lobby's ready. Thank you so much for waiting. MnM win?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what were you selected? TT9?
If I'd have known the map was Chalet, I'd have selected MnM.
Well, there you go. That's more stories for you. Let's see if TT9 can bring it all back against the odds that they've set themselves up to. Thank you so much, Demo and Fresh. We're going to toss it to our casters for game number 1 of this stage. It's happening. Enjoy.
I'm glad we're back to this. It shows that winning the major and being the best region doesn't change us. We're still the same. We're just the best now. Hi, it's Fluke. That's Hap. We're here back in Paris.
We're back in Paris and we are here for some amazing games. So the new patch, which will bring us some different kind of recoil to come through. So
new recoil.
Yeah,
new
different guns,
tricks.
new pocket tricks.
Wonderful to have Demo on the desk and Milosh and whoever that gay woman is that's replaced. I'm allowed to make that joke.
Am I allowed to laugh? Yes, right?
It broke the desk. That's all that matters.
Okay.
We're back. We're back. Okay, I'm very excited to get into this. I'm very excited to see how this starts to progress. They're not excited to have Nook.
No Nook on the board currently.
The grenade changes come through as well.
Yeah.
The difference in the amount of damage they do from underneath, the depth charging.
Not just that, but just the average grenade range where it has impact has limited itself as well, which means that you need to be quite closer to the actual grenade to die by it. So more precision is needed when using look at that, by the way, Thatcher on the board. And we kind of predicted this with the EMP impacts to be on the cards right now, that we would see more Thatcher, potentially.
No, Azami. Azami, she's had a pretty good roll here onto this map, especially. Is Tari at his computer, or is it just really dark? Sorry, side note. It's been, you're looking at, if you're holding onto the top floor, I know they talked about it before, it's not the strongest site, the positioning that you can sort of get with those, keep a barricades, tuck yourself in, Valk, yep, that's a pretty consistent removal here onto Chalet, and these are two teams that are consistent on the map, some for posterity, some not.
Now, some of you might have seen it already, we're quickly swapping the servers. So that gives us time to talk about the history between these two a little bit. Because whereas it was said before, both these teams, they have played a bunch of Villa. MnM is 2v2 on Villa. He's stage 2. No, not Villa. Chalet managed to win it twice.
I was going to say, that's a different map.
That's a different map. It's the one they banned. That's the one they played last time. 2v2 and actually winning the map, playing it in stage 2. Whereas TT9 is 4-for-4. However, they lost it every single time they played this map during stage 2. So there is definitely some bit to prove here. Now, the last time these two teams met as well was actually Playday 9. The last point MnM needed to make it to the major, and they just barely managed to drag themselves over the finish line right there. Still losing the game, however, but they definitely want to improve on that performance that they had against this team.
MnM at the major.
Yeah.
Wasn't great.
No, it was definitely not great.
Not great. There was a lot of sort of conversations about them coming into it. It was a last day they got over the line. It was close to them not making it. They didn't need the win. They just needed to get OT. That's what they got.
Yeah.
But still, that's not, in anyone's books, the cleanest. However, they were still a seed, from our perspective, that put in a good fight in the sort of final weeks, especially towards getting there. Then it sort of fell a little bit apart.
They just needed like 3 points over the last 3 games, and they managed to just do that in that very last one, like 1 point in the last 2. They struggled a lot. And the last time, the time before that, actually, these two teams played, it was actually, again, TT9 that won it with a 7-2 victory. So MnM have a lot to prove here. And even though, we have been saying about how Chalet seems to be favoring towards MnM, they also were playing a major. Whereas TT9 had all that time off to work on the flaws that they have spotted themselves to see if there's improvement possible. Now, I just want to go back to the new season a little bit. We have Grim, the new operator, joining as well. Wondering if we get to see any of the Cowan Hive launcher today. It's an interesting gadget. Deploy some bees. We'll be giving some permanent tracking until you leave the hive. After that, it's just a Prisma scan that goes through. Wondering how it might be used, especially if you look at this map. I would assume you might actually be able to use it on Pantry, for example, right? It's often a place people like to hide, just shoot it through the door, they can't swing you.
Well, obviously, we've had this sort of conversation about this before, is where are we going to see it? We have it every single time that there's a new operator released from it, because our perspective is one of, it's closed doors until the game starts, until we throw ourselves into it. Yeah, people will have ideas on how powerful someone can be in a lineup on a particular map or in a particular position, but at the same time, that's us theory crafting ideas based on assumption. An assumption isn't just here's a new operator, but it's also here's the changes that happen to so many other operators.
Yeah. You start looking to where teams sometimes have issues with certain areas, and you're like, how can this operator fix these issues and these strongholds that teams come up against?
It's not entirely, are we going to see Grim? It's not entirely what can Grim do, or where is Grim going to do it? But, it becomes this sort of position of, okay, but how's the potential recoil going to change things? LMGs in the dirt? RIP Bozo?
To some extent, they indeed are. I'm hoping to see some R4Cs again, some M762s to come back as well. The 2 ARs that we've seen nerfed, I heard the 416 on Jaeger is actually quite useful again. So we might get to see Jaeger be returned to its former glory as being a roamer.
Pengu, Mr. Nicholas Morrison, talking about Fuse LMG being okay.
Which is the same as Finker's LMG, by the way.
So I don't know what he's talking about, but we'll leave him to it. If I see people playing Fuse LMG based off of his tweets, maybe he's just trying to get more people to play it so he can beat them.
But back in the day, there used to be this debate, whereas if 2 operators had the same gun, it would handle differently on one of the operators. I still don't believe it. I'm not sure if it was ever proven or disproven. Well, I would fully assume that both guns would handle the same, but
you got to have the right energy to it. If you believe, it's like the English shotgun.
Yeah, exactly.
If you believe it'll get the kill, it'll
the more
get
faith
the kill.
you put in it.
As soon as you lose the faith,
it's over.
It's over.
You're no longer a smoke mate.
It's done. We are just quickly getting the server sorted out. We'll hopefully be back. I say back into the game. We've done the bans. We'll be into the game as soon as possible. I guess there's the conversation about we may see Grim. It's very specific. It's tactical. It's almost more specific to perspective than Sens would be. Will we see more Sens now that they've been out for a bit longer?
To be fair, Sens, they were used a lot on Chalet. Chalet was the one map.
It was used as a pocket play, though.
That's true.
It was like 2 drone holes.
That's exactly it. The 2 drone holes that are from the outside. They lean perfectly into the side and blocking off a lot of line of sight. So maybe we get to see more Sens. Not quite sure. Takes a bit of developing of the strategies, and again, teams, especially on the attack, they try and solve a puzzle that the defense throws at them. So it just happens to be if they are the right puzzle piece, they will be picked. It's as simple as that, right? But if other operators are better at fixing that issue, then Sens might not see much play.
Now, as the sort of conversations about how these games might play out, as we talked about before with a bit of the reference to Chalet, it's a good map for MnM. It's a map for their opponents, for TT9.
I would normally write this down in just bright red letters, as in this is not a good map for them, considering they lost it 4 out of 4 times last stage. It's not a great record. It's a record, as you said it before.
No, it's a record. It's a statistic. It's a statistic you sort of have to carry on. But it's also the statistic, I believe, this is the only game today where there's only teams that haven't changed anyone. It's sort of the biggest taste of what the game was like.
Yeah, no roster changes, but the organization changes, of course, TT9 that came in. And to be honest, that might be a really big relief for the players, because you might have seen it on Twitter. They struggled keeping their head in the game because they had to work jobs aside of playing professional Rainbow Six Siege. Maybe this has solved that issue and it will allow them to purely focus on this coming stage, have purely focused on their preparation as well. And we only have to cite Wolves for that matter. A lot of pressure on them when they were under Vitality of performing on the major, making sure that they pulled in these top placements. And as soon as Wolves picked them up, they started playing more freely. They, came into this friendly environment that really tried to help them forward. And suddenly they are at the top of the league, no question about it. So maybe TT9 coming in and picking up the roster is going to be helping them massively.
Well, as we, again, will be in this in a moment, do you think, Mr. Happington,
It's my new last
which
name,
is your legal name, we'll see a lot of the pocket AMPs in a showdown on Chalet. How well do you think this map and these teams offer themselves to it?
So it's a tertiary gadget now, right? Or
Yeah.
a tertiary secondary gadget, you have to say. So it doesn't replace any grenades, flashbangs, claymores, but the thing is, with these EMP impacts being introduced, I think we see a lot less Thatcher bans, which we just saw. No Thatcher ban, which means Thatcher can be played. I think if Thatcher is open, he's still the better alternative than these EMP impacts that you have. Because I don't think with an EMP impact you can actually stop an active K trick, which you can do with a Thatcher, for example, because there's a cooldown between the two throws that you have with the impacts. You cannot just toss them quickly after one another. So with Thatcher being opened up, I believe we might see Thatcher in play rather than the EMP impacts, because, it's just better to take grenades in that case, even though they have been nerfed a little bit.
Yeah, there's been changes there. I guess for me, I want to see how it might potentially shape the structure of things, because the last time we had this conversation was around the hard breach gadgets.
Yeah, very true.
Little quick ability to, I guess, move slightly further away from having a sort of setup of hard breach, especially with Buck with the hard breach, soft breach combination that he could then be. He came a little bit background into the play and the push of things. Heck, Fuse has them. He can do some approach here. But again, it's one of those questions that can only really be answered as soon as we sort of get into a bit of the gameplay. Look at this.
I've not seen that chibi before.
Where is
the
that?
Twitch one?
What's that?
It is.
I was like, where is that in the studio?
I believe that's the Predator Twitch chibi.
Wow.
And I've not seen anything about it.
That was... So we've just had a sneaky reveal.
It might have been a
That's
sneaky
a slow
reveal.
pan. Are we...
At some point, it might come all the way
there's
to
like
us. We're Glass now. Jaeger coming up next, and then you have Ella. And then the newest operator that will reveal next season is, is going to be Emmy, yes.
Imagine. I would be useless.
What would
I
your...
have no military experience.
But what would your ability be? Just to shout really loud?
Shout real loud. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, this pains me to say it. Dez might be the best one to add from the EUL team as an operator, because fun fact about him, he used to be semi-pro in paintball. This is a weird Dez fact for you.
Semi-pro in paintball?
Yeah.
Okay.
Weird Derry Desert Holt fact, was a semi-professional paintball player. He's quite little, he's quite nippy, low center of gravity. I can imagine.
It's like Mozzie, right? Hard to hit.
Demo's pointing at himself and trying to, I guess...
Have you had military experience?
He's trying to put forward the idea that he would be good. Yeah, but it's Demo.
Yeah, but it's also Dez. He just stood up from the couch and he's like, oh, my knees. I'm getting old.
He's old. Maybe, okay, Medics, I think. He could do...
Maddox would be like a silent assassin.
Yeah.
It'd be great for like a new Assassin's Creed game.
Well, luckily there's been one announced.
There is one, yes.
Hopefully Maddox is a playable character. In this game, Maddox becomes the new sort of flagship character in every single Ubisoft title. Hi, if you're just joining us right now, welcome back to EUL. We're the champions. How do we celebrate? With a brief pause before we get into the game. How did you celebrate? What's been your 2 weeks? And everybody from chat, how much have you rubbed it in the faces of the other regions?
I mean, first of all, I was very proud considering Deepak was part of the team that won. Benelux Pride having to come through a little bit there. So, of course, I congratulated him and his family that I've talked to before during like the Benelux finals and like I believe it was his mother was like, "Did you ever expect this to happen after like playing Benelux?" And like I knew one of the three would some point make it to a major, but not win it straight away. So it was a full experience being there in the crowd at that moment in time. But I've just heard a sound, Emmy, and I'm not sure if this confirms anything.
We'll come back soon.
We'll come back to you in a couple of seconds.
Has disappeared. You can see the players. They're getting themselves ready and rolling, and we're in. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with us. We are in the first game, Playday 1. If you missed the bans, Nook, Flores, Zami, and Valkyrie. If you missed the map, Chalet. The other choice was Villa, but TT9 wanted to come here. TT9, if you're unaware, you could do the next bit.
I was going to say, just continue, but yeah, the new organization that has picked up the Russian team, making sure they do not have to worry about the issues they had when they were orgless temporarily. So I'm hoping that it will bring them some freedom, some extra performance that they might be able to bring out during this stage, because they visibly struggle, and that's not something you'd like to see. So I really hope that they get back into their best game now.
Okay. Let's start us off here with MnM on their attack, something they're very happy to do. And we're on the top floor as a hold. Box is half hot, half solid. It gives themselves a little bit more of a swing, and that seems to be the idea here. The magical man with his glasses might be the preventative measure against the Ying. The Candle is in the pocket of Nello. Might find themselves coming up a bit of ground very quickly. It depends on the MnM push. We've obviously got the line heading towards double window potentially. No, rotates around to the fireplace door. The stretch of Nico and Exodus towards the other side of the map is going to be something that MnM might need to pay attention to, as Solotov is busy underneath the stair set to drive that player out.
Yeah, they just want to put that pressure from both the windows and from underneath, which means that if a grenade gets tossed in, they'll either be forced to flee downstairs and be picked up by the player in the big garage, or to try and push up as a result. And that gunfight is about to be taking place right here. WTG gets the spot out, but Solotov unable to connect any shots himself.
Now, a little bit more quick pressure here towards those windows. The double setup with those ADSs. That's why they try and force the pressure from underneath here. WTG, you don't want to put as much utility round on the swing, hit those ADSs, but it's Tyrant that goes down first. The E1D is going to keep him alive just for a second. Scyther wants to go for another swing. He's waiting for the sound of the crawl. Fires a little bit too high. Concerned about someone on the long overwatch. It's a drop. Tyrant should be safe. It depends how wide he goes for this crawl, if they're trying to get the cover and the timing of the potential swing round here. Solotov is the man that's going for the recollection. Pulled himself out of the garage wall. He's going to have to pay some focus and attention elsewhere. Again, concerned of the swing round. You can see they've kept themselves just tucked under that balcony window, but that's a minute 30, and their main driving force has been pulled out of position and suddenly under pressure here from the swing round onto West Main.
They definitely knew someone just got picked up there, and WTG just had a minute to spare. It's going to be the Candelas. They're about to be rolling in right here, but I believe that's a shotgun ready to engage Nello if they do go a bit too aggressive. The ping comes through as C4 will detonate as well and fight Neo on its way out.
That's it. The first pick goes the way of TT9, and now they're going to see if they can just, again, keep this staircase solid. You can see how much MnM's dedicated to try and get rid of the player. They finally find him. Users is able to get that just on the loose play round underneath, but 50 seconds. They still have to do a lot of the structural work onto the site itself. Tyrant, he's back on these windows, trying to put the pressure. That was the wrong sort of explosion. Doesn't quite get the full pop. But here, the three remaining other players, they're eyeing up the chance to push up the staircase. There's the catch on the flank. Drone Exodus pulling himself all the way around on the other side. Solotov's about to find a fight on this doorway. Does he know how close Exodus is? The spot
laser
on the red dot. Solotov heading to the ladder itself, but it's Nello that drives through. Does a little bit of scratch damage over towards the bathroom door. Exodus, he's missed his moment to catch out Solotov.
Definitely missed out. Nello will be picked up from the staircase, and that leaves it in a 2v3 situation. The diffuser is down. Solotov picked up on the side as well. Only up to Tyrant now. 1v3, 7 seconds. Needs to find a lot of bodies, but will find none. Scyther shuts him down with a 4-16, and that's going to be the first round for TT9.
A bit slow from MnM, a bit cautious. They put a lot into getting control of Solarium Stairs. They put a lot into paying some attention underneath and didn't really get anything from it. Obviously, Tyrant suffered elsewhere.
Yeah.
Not sure if he was trying to make an approach onto Scyther on the top of the blue stairs or he was just swung out. Unfortunately, it puts him in this tricky position, though, where you're sort of thinking, who was going to be that first lead in for MnM? A problem that they used to have a fair bit before on their slower days.
Yeah, for sure. And for a while, you know, you had Tyrant always stepping up, massive, but the last stage he has been kind of quiet. Started to come alive again throughout those last couple of games, but we kind of need that again. We need that spearhead of 3 that we talked about so often to be alive. Solotov uses Tyrant. They need to be taking that together and make sure that they pull MnM across the finish line here. And if we just look back at that last round, you said it before, they lost a lot of time with Tyrant going down. They had to send someone over to go for the recovery onto that window. That left WTG without any pressure, just from the window, but you can deal with that. Now, it's only because he tried to rotate out that he got picked up as a spawn peek is attempted. But somehow Nella will come out on top.
There was 2. There was seemingly a fight that happened slightly elsewhere as well. Tyrant, he was almost the first off the board in the previous round. He was the lock-in here on the second, but the trade-off is against Emission. And sure, you've removed a couple of things out of the pockets of Tyrant, but you've also taken out those discs. Any cancellation is almost the trade-off as to what they might have been able to catch by the takeoff of that player. Still 2 grenades left, though. Neo obviously has the chance to try and cause some devastation, and all the flashes and smokes need to burn it through. MnM, though, you've got the first, and I like this little bit more pace and pressure they're applying towards the top of the stair set.
They have the opportunity now as well. They can just shoot in these Gon 6s because they know there can only be one Magnet at that moment in time because he already went for that spawn peak. There's nothing else on the board currently. No Jaeger to catch up any of these projectiles. So, I mean, they have a bit of free reign right now. Can start to put up some damage towards the side, around the side, and other pieces of utility that have been placed like you've just seen. The Twitch drone now doing the exact same job as well. And MnM trying to put up that pressure, but they know they need to take control of the library first.
Well, there's a bit of a steady watch, and obviously with the Dokkaebi, they've got control of the cams internally as well, so they've been able to get the read on the player that's on the top of blue stairs. It's being pushed a little bit further ahead. They take it and remove it. It's a swing round. Nico suffers with a scratch, goes for the fight back, but takes a little bit more for it. He's tucked and close and in danger. There's the bounce of the first grenade. Doesn't quite get the full reveal. WTG gets the follow-up, though. Solotov taken off the board, pushed his way up the blue stairs, offered the support that he could. And now MnM, they've been, I guess, once again a bit blindsided.
Was kind of losing some time right here. Uses spot stand-up player, but takes a lot of damage himself. Neo tries to hop in. He needs to put up that pressure. They need to try and attack from 2 sides at the same time, but Nico just swings and takes him out. Users will be picked up next. It's only up to Nello. He will find it first with the MK14, but needs to find 3 more. The phone call will give him a bit of security. Knows where these players are, but as he jumps in for the frost mat, it's the C9 that will eventually pick him up. And TT9 with yet another round on the board.
It's one of the things Fresh said on the desk was he's curious to see what their game is because the game's got to be good. I don't know if I'm still ready after a couple of rounds to say this is a good game from TT9, but I think this is a bit of a sloppy game here from MnM. The response there from TT9 was fantastically put together. As soon as the player hopped in, they had the reveal.
Yeah.
They'd just gotten themselves tucked onto library. You suddenly saw Nico able to find that pressure and put it elsewhere. He kept himself alive long enough on the fight just before to get some support from the blue stair set. He had a support structure ready and they're utilizing it and responding around it, and this was one of the problems that this roster had last split. They've been able to thread some of this stuff, and MnM, that's 2 rounds on the trot and not much for it.
Well, it's basically the same issues that we've seen on MnM as well. They're slow here a bit, then they get caught up, not really having a way into the site. They try and make an entry happen somewhere, but then completely neglect, for example, those blue staircases where suddenly a player pops up, takes them out, and makes sure that the advantage is there for TT9. So they need to be a bit more precise and disciplined in how they approach this site. Take things one by one. Don't just try and cut right to the middle if you haven't cleared the surroundings yet. Another 3 minutes on the clock here for round 3. It's Nello has brought out Amaru. So we might see some hatch play there. We might see some window play. Who knows? What we do know is that the operator usually brings some form of speed.
Wow, speed might be on the cards. They've got themselves double stacked onto this window. There's a bit of a preemptive pop there, just to sort of say we have some awareness. We hear the shuffling, but look at Nello where he's stacked up. There's the break onto the window. Nello's up through the gate. He's able to win out one. Scyther finds Tyrant on the swing, but Neo's inside, and Solotov, he's been able to get one on the backside as well. Suddenly, MnM has executed. It's a 3 versus 1. After the end of it, Exodus, the only one left. The rotate round on the backside of the stairs, caught out. You can see they're on the drone hole as well. It's Usus. Takes the toes, and if the first 2 rounds was MnM failure to launch, that was straight into space.
They needed to go quick, and that's exactly what they did there. They knew that there was no one around the bathroom area. They had that as a lock-in. Nello coming in from the window as well. You don't really expect it. Usually it's someone repelled up, takes out the barricade first, then wastes the serial laser gate, but this time it was just a player right on through without any former warning, and that allowed him to get the drop into the player onto those back stairs, and with that, you find the first initial entries. Now, MnM with 1 on the board. They need to find more, though. You want to get at least an even split out here. Yes, it's the first game off the stage, the quite literal first game of the stage, not just for MnM or TT9, but also of any other team here in Europe. So there might be some jitters. Who knows? They need to get those out of the way quickly. And MnM, they need to turn this around if they want to find a victory.
They haven't taken their time out yet, obviously.
Yep.
They still have some chance to build it. But for what people would call a generic and a good on par Chalet half is a 4 attack take. It's
exactly
a lot more threaded in a row, and they've got to see if they can try and build behind it. The rush strat, that sort of quick pace play, only really works on some of these pocket sites, and it was the tertiary site. Let's see if they can try and bring it on. Well, technically a repeat here. Kitchen is where we're going to go instead of back up to the top floor. They're going to see if they can try and go with something slightly alternate here, and alternate is the push to slower and steadier, and back to Candelas in the pockets.
They need to take slow control. Take the map section by section. Don't just try and cut right to the side. That's what they tried in 2 of the rounds that they have lost so far. So maybe if they play this a bit more, I said it before, discipline. Take out these areas one by one. Work as a team. You might be able to get towards the site more successfully and, you know, with more members left alive to actually try and make stuff happen. And it seems like it will be the top floor that they try and take control of first. Nello wasting some of the serial laser gates, is receiving a smoke canister, but doesn't take any damage yet. We'll know of the player now, though.
That's it. That drone just bounced off the one beam to the top corner. Solotov is curious about somebody coming in behind him. You can see the drone still getting that recon. There's the burn of the flashes. The smoke canister just comes from Force. The player slightly further away. They want to try and get the catch underneath, but he's pre-firing the angle. Solotov's caught a bit unaware. WTG again doing everything he needs to here to try and burn the time and the space. The drone still getting the reveal on the position of the player. Finally removed. The new suppressor changes are starting to show their head as well. And again, it's this decisive game. There it is. Solotov finally able to take care of WTG. Wasted a lot of time for his position, though.
Yeah, 90 seconds gone, which leaves 90 left for MnM to get the rest of the top floor and the actual side on the control. Scyther looking to retake a little bit here. Needs to be careful as the skeleton key was about to be opening up right underneath him, but he will, you know, fight back a little bit. Emission is still up on the top floor as well. They're waiting for these repellents. They're waiting for the sound cues before they go for the swing. But before they do that on MnM's side, they're first droning everything out. They need to know it's safe and clear to go for it. But as they've just spotted out the Jaeger, they will go for a rotate.
50 seconds. The pressure's coming through onto Trophy itself. They wanted to see if a player would come down the stairs and see if they could replicate the position, but they haven't been gifted that. TT9, though, they lose the next up top. Tyrant with a quick hop in, removes Nico from the board. Suddenly the back of the TT9 defense doesn't look as solid. Exodus, he slips his way back round down the stairs. Now it's not Watch. Looks for the upside down rappel, and it's Emission that gets the open, and the Candelas for the drive over the top itself. He's looking for the fight onto the double window, but MnM's looking for a route in, and it keeps being shut down. Exodus from the hatch up 2 stories to that window is able to remove the player. Emissions move back, watching from above, waiting for the hop in, and with 15 seconds, there is nowhere else for Solotov to go but through the fire and the flames here. Emissions waiting, Neo suffering in a scrap, but gets the lockdown. Gonna see if he can hold F. The cover needs to come through. They're still waiting for that player. Emission wins it out. Tyrant, he's able to get one. They hold F. It gets locked in. MnM.
Well done, Derek. Crucial gunfight one around the dining table, around the kitchen, which allowed the plan to go down as the last 2 members not in a position to stop that from happening. So TT9, they almost managed to bring back that 5v3. MnM just barely edging it out in favor of themselves. And that puts them up on 2. But you mentioned it before. A 4-2 split is considered good. A 3-3 you can still work with to some extent. So they want to get at least 1 more, but preferably 2 or 3 on the side of MnM versus TT9. They might already be content with what they have, but looking and hungry for more either way. We'll be headed towards the bar and gaming room next. That is a site which still haunts me every now and then, because when it was first back introduced, Chile, we saw NA be very efficient with dealing with EU teams on this side, especially by opening up the pantry wall that leads to the staircase. Suddenly, the entire area is unplayable. I wonder if we get to see something similar as that now from the sides of MnM. There is no dedicated heart breach, but of course the heart breach gadgets could be making its entrance again to fill that role if they would want to go for it, but there's no real need to do it. And indeed, they will not decide to go for it. 2 impact EMPs, though, on the side of Tyrant. That's an intriguing one, considering there is no heart breach yet.
Yes. But it's, I mean, the first play, the first run. It's the good thing about having the first Playday on the Tier 1 scene. We get to say we got the first one, and that's the first pocket EMP. Will Tyrant get to use them, or will he be the first off the board? Which has happened on some of these rounds. The Lion, the E1D, might be able to do some damage, but it's actually a mission that suffers first. He should be very easily recovered. They looked like they wanted to try the idea of a grenade round there, but it's the pickup through the drone hole. It was beat. No! Just protected by the side of the chassis. Second one! Catches sight there on the swing round. Neo double dipped and was rewarded for it.
Thought it might be clear after the first grenade came through. Well, that wasn't the case at all. But it's going to be the last grenade as well that MnM had, so they at least found a single kill with it. That's an advantage they now need to lock in. A lot of damage done to Emission as well. You need to capitalize on this one, so make sure you clear everything out as decently as you can. But Exodus, he's playing in that dangerous position right there. Onto the mezzanines, could easily swing onto Nello, who's on that window.
Now, what are they going to try and do about rooting out the players on the top? Nico and Exodus have that sustaining relationship here. Tyrant's trying to watch from the double door across Fireplace, but they've actually opted to pull themselves back. That canister is them buying them a second. Solotov looks for a fight elsewhere. Only a single player. No, Nico rotates back up as I say it. Goes to offer some of the support. There's a swing round. There's Nello with a hefty double. Looks for the third just on the swing round. The E1D isn't going to quite get the full catch, but WTG does. And he thinks better of trying to push on that advantage. Tyrant inside the site. WTG on the door of it. Gets the instant response. 2 versus 1. And a minute left on the clock. The calls come through pretty consistently. They have the kit. They have a lot of time. Are they going to hunt the man?
Oh, hacking the cams quickly, see if there's any extra information they can gain from that. Now, Nello has the opportunity to open up that hatch with the MK14, but decides to just descend down these stairs. Join Neo, who's about to go for the drop-in. Frostmat already gone. Neo is inside, is slowly peeking around the corner. They definitely know where he is now. The hatch gets opened up, and that's a drop, but Neo finds him first. MnM find their 3rd round.
I mean, that was it. You're starting to see that side and spark here from MnM. I don't think we saw a pocket EMP. I don't think one was thrown.
I mean, there's no real use to them as well.
But I think if you're a T1 player, as we'll say this in the timeout that's been taken here, and there's a new gadget added, and you're in that situation, you'd just throw one just to say you were the first, wouldn't you? You just use it just to be like, well,
I would. Just in spawn.
Because then any time it's brought up, any time they say this, you could be like, yeah, I was the first one to use it. First one to use it in T1. Doesn't matter if you use it well. Just you can end the sentence there.
I mean, I'm going to be bringing this back to Benelux for a second.
Of course you are.
I'm just going to say,
because
new operator. No,
listen.
Listen. New operator came out. Avage was one of the 2 players that has played every operator in the game in a competitive matter at that point. But it was quarantined. So what they did instead, he played it, and then he got team killed because it was still in quarantine. So he technically played it.
We had our own beep there.
That one doesn't agree with me.
I was half listening to your point.
Yeah, no, I know.
We had our own beep.
I heard the beep as well.
Yeah, it really confused me. I didn't know if
is that a new beep?
Well, I didn't know if that was in the building for a second, and there was like a fire alarm, and
or is production just adding a new beep for
production
everybody?
loves a new beep. Love throwing a cheeky beep. All right, TT9's tech timeout has been taken. That ties into what I said before. MnM needed 4 rounds to sort of get themselves on par for the course here, but also look at how this game has gone. TT9 were 2 up, and then since then have sort of been pushed aside. They needed to slow down the pace of this game and try and just recollect themselves more than that 4-2 scoreline. But MnM had started to find momentum. They'd started to find a bit of a roll in their energy, and you've got to try and dampen those spirits.
They definitely did that with the start of that rush, and after that being able to pick up 2 extra rounds all in a row. Now, Thatcher on the board.
Classic Thatcher.
Again, no heart breach.
Just a classic Thatcher. What's your reasoning for the Thatcher no hard breach?
ADSs is the only thing I can imagine, or the warding glasses, which then don't activate when flashbangs are used. But there's only 3 flashbangs as well, so I guess it is only for the ADSs, just to make sure that grenades actually reach their destination.
Well, the counter pick on the counter pick. Will it count for this pick as we run through here? The pressure's instantly coming around onto West Main. Seemingly they want to cut off the route round a little bit more flat to the fire this time. They've always put the buck 2 stories under inside the garage. It makes sense. It cuts through a lot of utility without having to cut through the utility. But they seem to have themselves a little bit more stacked up just around here where Tyrant's ready to broach and breach. Will this be the idea of pace? The potential of a Rooney Gates is maybe also why they've brought it here. There's the burn through, one either side. There's no gates. There's the ADS. There's the catch. There's the grenade, you assume now. And there's the player gone. Perfectly played there. That's why you bring the Thatcher without anybody else behind it other than plucky grenades.
Yeah, well, make sure you don't have to waste any other utility. You don't have to throw in any flashbangs before that grenade can pop off, because if flashbangs come in, that's going to be the call to move out as the smoke player, because you know a grenade will follow very soon. So, well played there, the double EMP to get rid of all those ADSs, and the grenade kill to open things up. Another opening for MnM. Again, they need to capitalize off this. A 4-2 split is what we consider the default here. So, with that, they have the advantage. They just need to lock it in now.
So here comes that second step that's sometimes been a little bit tough. How do you start the pressure inside the building? Solotov can pull himself away. There is obviously a big soft floor above him towards the bathroom that can start to cut the players, but they're curious about the one currently around onto dining, where they want to isolate the backside. Not sure what that was from the side of Tyrant, but there it is, Nico. Said the dining player was causing them some curiosities. The drone's going to get the reveal on the next. There's now a bit of a fight inside Trophy. Users wants to push it. Somebody's watching him above, though. They're concerned about potentially below. Exodus forced off by the fire. There's the slight reveal, and there's the slip away.
You might well just want to abandon that bottom floor completely now and just try and go for the actual site. EMPs to be tossed in, another grenade to follow up very shortly here for Nala. Will take care of the shield of emission, but not do any damage himself. He sees the head. Wasn't able to quickly respond enough, though. Drone tossed in. Will be giving some extra information, but 20 seconds means they need to be very quick here on the side of MnM.
That's it, more discs, more cover, but there's not really much else outside of just throwing themselves in the fight, and they're trying to do that up the stairs itself. The Solarium's becoming a battleground, but with 10 seconds, it's got to turn into a war. The first goes down, the second is caught out just a little. There it is. Tyrant at least gets some revenge. They're trying to get the diffuser planted. Cover on the box. Can he hold it down? It's a 2 versus 1. The answer's no. TT9 pull themselves level.
An early opening there for MnM, but unable to actually deal with that advantage they had. There was that one rogue player around in the kitchen and the dining area, which they basically took as 2 single 1v1s and then just decided to abandon completely. So that's what lost them the round there. Just that one gunfight. You would have had the extra player. You didn't have to worry about anybody coming out from below. You had the opportunity to just overwhelm that player into the corner. I mean, you might kill 1, you might kill 2, but 3 might be a bit much with a 26-round magazine in that 416. So, a 3-3 split. MnM, they definitely did better than we might have expected after the first 2 rounds. Now they're going over to the defense themselves. Let's see if they can make the difference here. There's a mirror to be brought out. Operator, do not see very often anymore, even though she is unbanned quite a lot.
Well, if we didn't see any hard breach from one team, we're getting a bigger taste of it on the other. That is a pretty classic lineup, as weird as it is to sort of say there. The double hard breach, the Thatcher, the roll round with Nico and the Nomad, which, to be fair, you don't see a huge amount compared to how she sort of used to be set up within the meta.
No, definitely not. And I mean, to be honest, we have a lot of operators that do a lot of things now. So
We do.
at some point,
That's on the box.
yeah, that's in the box.
Rainbow Six Siege. We have a lot of operators that do a lot of things now.
It's a unique selling point. But yeah, other operators kind of took our place a little bit in that previous meta. So interesting to see whether or not Nomad will be making more of an appearance now, especially with other guns being more viable again. Jaeger can be a roamer again.
Wow. They're going to be roaming around with the Frost on the top floor. The hold, obviously, it's worth mentioning. If there was changes before, it's also down deep in the basement. They got the first wall cracked open, but since then, this is how a lot of teams like to hold it. They have the couple of players there. There's many routes to rotate their way down, and the first one to suffer. He did do a bit of his exothermic job. They have more than enough in their pockets to do the rest of the work.
Use it all.
But it's still a huge loss as well on a player, just on a swing round on the balcony door. Solotov's still up top as well, waiting for the drones en route, but there's a hatch to drop down if he needs it. There's a route away from all of this.
Now you see the suppressor quite a lot, actually, as that's a C4. You should have moved.
He went for the fight instead. He thought he could take the man before they pressed the key, but evidently not.
Well, luckily we have another player with a suppressor, so it can still continue to point to some extent. They do no longer have a damage debuff. That's why you see them a lot more now, actually. So they hide the tracers as they come in. So if you get the drop on someone, they might be confused. Now, back to the actual round. Now, unfortunate there, losing your life to a Nitrocell that you clearly see, hoping you could get the player before the Nokia phone was pressed.
Now, as I said, they have the hatch on the other side if they want to take the drop here. He's got the impact ready in pocket, but he's not opening it until the fight has come through. The attention is being paid pretty intently towards the breakdown here on West Main. You can see there's some ideas of curiosity, the roll of the exothermic and the roll of that as well. We'll get the breach opened, just put together, and now they're going to go around to the red wall. The most important part of this is to try and tuck that kid in. I'm not sure if the hatch is solid or not, but with only 3 players and all of them downstairs, it's open, and that's going to turn risky.
Yeah, but they need all players on site that they currently have. They cannot afford to have someone up above to make sure that they have that cover, because someone needs to watch the pillar, someone needs to watch blue, and at the same time, there is still going to be yokais about, which will be taken out. Users, though, will find one, Solotov picks up another, and it's only up to Emission now as he finds one. The hatch is soon to be coming into play as well here. We'll find that player somehow, boots it back into a 3v1. The mirror window's open. There's someone on literally every single other door, but somehow he will still find one. Doesn't see the battle. Somehow does quad kill. Up for an ace, 5 seconds on the board! Oh! What? I did not expect that to happen at all.
Emission! Out of nowhere! Handed every single MnM player like it was a tea hunt.
I literally thought, okay, he gets that first. The second one, it will be over. Okay, maybe not then, but surely the blue player will get him. No, then the player that's hopped up. No, also not. Then time was about to run out, but the ace to come through, I did not see that coming. That literally came out of nowhere. Is that a 1v5? That's a 1v5 clutch.
It was a
1v5 clutch.
1v5 clutch with about maybe 17 seconds. Maybe.
I did not see that coming. Well played.
Nobody saw that coming.
Definitely not.
MnM. What?
I'm sorry I had too little faith in you, Emission. I honestly thought you would be dying at the next engagement you take, but not the case. And you ace clutch it for your team, and that's a tactical timeout to be called by MnM. Because something just happened there. It all just went south really quickly, and they need to prevent that from happening again.
When you're 1 second away from sort of saying it's going to be a flawless hold as the opener for MnM to that, and don't get me, like, all credit to Emission for an ace clutch, always, 100%.
Yes,
but
definitely.
you have to have questions for what MnM were doing there.
Okay, that's first of all too aggressive.
The second, this one, maybe he had intel. He seemed very set up for it.
They had drones.
They had drones. So there's a catch, Emission. And then it's a 3 versus 1, like 10 seconds on the board.
Why are you peeking?
Pre-fires the angle, caught in a Banshee.
Spots the player there, swings him.
It's fantastic from Emission. It is absolutely fantastic from Emission. But MnM, what?
look, every single player there made mistakes to some extent, except for maybe the last two, because they were trying to hide. They were trying to play the time there, just not quickly enough. But it's a 1v5. You don't need to go for the swings one by one. You just wait until that plant goes down, and that's the moment when you strike. But MnM, he played that perfectly. He managed to find every single one of those players in a very, very unexpected ace clutch there.
I mean, okay, let's see where this starts to go next. MnM, you've now got the Impact DMP. You might be the first one to use it as well after pulling in on our opening day an ace clutch, the first I've seen in a very, very long time. Holding with Oster Shield. There's a take round onto the first. The second is on the second story. How much they're going to overextend here, MnM. They're hopefully, after that team talk, going to play themselves a little cards close to the chest. But at the same time, most of that round, in fact, the opening 2 minutes and 40 seconds was great from MnM.
I mean, it was all great up until the 1v5, and then suddenly it all fell apart. So, to be honest, their defense looked really good. And if they managed to waste a lot of time, I mean, they've already wasted a minute. What they might not know, though, is that Pantry has been breached. There's that small line of sight that they can use to look down upon any player that's out there. So, if Neo goes back and they do have drone information, that might be a free kill for TT9.
Well, there's the wait on the next, and again, a swing round just to sort of keep the statement, the awareness that we're up here, we're a problem you have to deal with. Are they going to try and deal with it? They're putting some focus now towards the chance at a quick, cheeky plant. There is only the single player inside. That drone got caught out by the mute jammer. Neo can survive for now, but this grenade, it's going to do some busy work and take care of... Well, potentially. Oh no, it's the flashbang, yeah, in the pocket. I thought he wanted to grenade the hole. Instead, he goes for the flash. Solotov's now stacked up as well, holding onto the corner. Except, sorry, without the operator icon, sometimes you get a bit lost, but Useless isn't. Finds the double over the top. Easy pickup there. Inside the library window, there's Exodus rotating around on the stairs, just sees the tail end of a player. The pings are continual. Tyrant, he's shown the door by a mission. 50 seconds.
That's another jump in to come through. Exodus will be trying to find his way onto the site, though, but the diffuser has been dropped up above. And as Exodus gets shut down, it's a mission in a 1v3 situation right here. Is he going to be clutching up again for his team this time? A little bit more time, 37 seconds. Surely, though, that tactical timeout will tell them to be a little bit more passive in these kind of situations. He will be able to find a first and will connect the shots as well. Knows about a second player as well. The diffuser still dropped upstairs, so he will have to go up at some point, sooner rather than later. But he first wants to take the fight onto the actual player on the side. Digging in deep. They're playing this massively. They don't want to go for any swings. And this time it will be Neo that locks it out. No more clutch for Mission, at least not now. And with that MnM, they will be able to put another round on the board and extend their lead.
If he had done it twice in a row,
honestly,
you just...
I would go insane.
But it's a 4-4. He was the
Yes.
first player to use the pocket EMPs in Tier 1 League play. He used them. Saw them both. 0 in the pocket. Congratulations, Mission. Put that in the Wikipedia.
Not the ace clutch. No. We just the impact.
You can put both in.
Okay.
If you want.
Twitter bio or
Twitter
Wikipedia?
bio, Wikipedia. Get it edited in. We're back down to the basement here. We've got a slight difference. Ash is in the pockets this time. No double heart breach for now, at least. None of the roll on the attempt on Thatcher. It seems like they want to try and get themselves in potentially with a little bit more aggression instead of going for the setup, plant, and play. Because to be fair, the setup wasn't working. That's where all the parts and pieces fell apart for them. Again, slight differences on the other side as well. MnM, they've got some control of the drones. Solotov, Mozzie saw a bit of a drop-off in terms of play, but this is a team that had some of the stats, that ones that Jack was putting on the timeline around the play of operators. Mozzie was a big drop-off, but MnM were one of those teams that brought him.
And is brought again to see if any information can be stolen from TT9, because they do have a lot of drones on the actual side. They might not win all these gunfights, but they generally have an idea of where everybody's coming from. Just look back at round 7 as an example. Knew exactly someone was coming up on that hatch, for example, because of these drones being in position. And Mozzie might help out a little bit, hijacking some of these drones, stopping them from reaching certain locations at the very same time as well. Now it's used as a bit of a flank watch to some extent for the roamer itself. Drones cannot go through as it's placed in the middle of the hallway, so extra drones are being sent through. See, they're in the middle of the ground. We'll catch that drone, which means they don't have the information. Yeah, the mission still wins. He doesn't need information.
He doesn't need it. Mission. He's on a heater, and you can't blame him with the energy that was put before him, and now he's going to make sure he can ride that and keep TT9 riding into this game. Tyrant, he's on the back line, just sort of darting towards the curiosity at what's down underneath him and what might be coming flat on, but Mission with the chance at the 2-story devastation here over the top of Fireplace is keeping this. That's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate now. Needs to go to a different avenue here. Spots out of Malusi. We'll find him as well with another headshot. The mission is an absolute fire right here ever since that ace clutch. Was on 3 kills right before that. Now completely a different man in this game here. Uses next to a window. Is he aware though that he's about to be swung? Window is about to be opened up, gives him an opportunity. Oh, there's pings. They know exactly where he is. That's going to be the pre-fire. However, User still wins out on him.
Yeah, he did a pre-fire of his own. Mission. No. This is a man who's eating his steak for breakfast. He is ready and raring to go under the TT9 banner, and I'm sure these players are making them very happy for picking up this AUG, a 4 versus 2. Now we know on this site, well enough, it's not over till it's over. It's down to TT9 to see if they can just try and lock out that final bit of pressure. Just misses the full bite out of the mirror. She is able to slink away. Both of them are stacked up here against the single standing wall, but will not be standing much longer. You can see the pressure starting to bounce its way back. 40 seconds, is able to find their way through out onto blue. Past the player holding onto the stair set. A slight separation. The roll of the drones. TT9, where's the approach coming from? Right towards the feet of Nello. He goes down super low as well, but a great connection around WTG on the dance onto the hatch itself. The swing onto blue doesn't quite connect. It's a Mission and Scyther.
A Mission with a quad kill again. He's just on a different level right now, and with that, TT9, they regained that lead into this game. Now having the opportunity to push themselves towards a map point, towards that 6th round here in round 10. If they do manage to do so again, they will be finding themselves with the upper hand over MnM. Something they have found themselves consistently. A 7-2 victory, an 8-7 victory, and now in the making, potentially a 7-4, something like that, because TT9, especially a Mission, has been activated throughout this game.
I mean, a Mission has been activated, no two ways about that.
Yes.
From an ace clutch start to where he is now, that's at least 10 kills, I believe, over the 3 rounds. But every single round now that TT9 take, if you're MnM after what happened on that ace clutch situation, surely all you're thinking is horrible thoughts, because you're in that position of we should have won that. And that is that sort of overbearing feeling that comes down throughout a game. It permeates itself over the rounds that happen. Every single engagement now is a frustration built on the back of the biggest frustration of all. TT9 1 round away from securing at least a point from this showdown here on their attack on Chalet. They have a bit of a breeze of momentum. They have a bit of this energy, and my God, they have a Mission. And that is just an army right now.
One-man army walking through. It's the G36 to come through, not the R4C. It's currently running right here. A lot of suppressors, actually, onto the TT9 squad. And as they slowly push through, the drones are clearing the way. Mission definitely on the entry duty right now. No, he's strong currently, so they want to abuse that to the very last drop of it.
I mean, when was the last time you saw an Ash leading the sort of frag game of a game?
It's a couple of months ago, years ago even.
Has this thrown us back with the change of the recoils here? The pressure starts to come through on the top. Once again, TT9, they have a lot of this fury. MnM have used their tac timeout just previously before. Obviously, TT9 have used theirs in the first half, so it's just down to the drive in the game that we have ahead of us. The pressure starts for the swing. Neo's picking up the Echo. We talked about the change of roles that might be happening a little bit between Neo and Nello during this new split. Scythe is the first to suffer a little. There's the sneak through. They've got to see if they can try and shut down the swing players, the close use of the grenades, the breach and the break on anything onto that corner. There goes the ADS. There's a cacophony of explosions. A Mission, can you get the catch on the player behind the bed? There's the pop. There's WTG, but it's generally MnM's favor the swing round here. A Mission is still standing, looking for the tailing players. They haven't fully handed it over. Solotov bites back, and it's sort of come to blows a bit over the bedroom. TT9 worse for wear.
Not not really a way in now for the side of TT9 until Exodus will find Solotov. That will clear a lot of the pressure, but still Nico stuck onto the back windows here. No, someone is up on the staircases out there. Of course, they do need to go downstairs to the actual kitchen and dining to go for that plant. So MnM, they need to recognize this. They are now in a 3v2. They are in an advantage, but if Tyrant stays in the current position he is and he gets drawn out, because we know the information is this good on the side of TT9. No, this time it wasn't. Nico gets picked up, and that's going to be the second to lock it off. Tyrant will find the round for MnM. For a second, I was afraid that this would go back to a 2-on-2, but this time, no information for TT9.
A step back in there. It's trading rounds and blows at this point. MnM, they're getting themselves in the position. The drone game, the intel game that was played so well as the opener from TT9 before. They're trying to find the flaws in it because they know that there's trust. If something's good, you trust it. So you've got to try and be great to break it. Bar Gaming here, which of these teams are going to be the first to get themselves to map point, give themselves the opportunity at the full 3 points on this, what is potentially going to turn into one of them 6-point games we love to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if we're looking down later down the line. Well, I don't think MnM is in any danger of like the bottom 2 spots currently, but a lot can still change throughout this stage, and definitely these kind of wins could be those 6-point games at that moment in time. So that is something to keep and pay attention to. MnM still want to find themselves a victory here against TT9, and they need to start that off with winning the very next round, just to put up the pressure onto the Russian team and make sure that they have the map point in their hands. Now that goes both ways. If they lose this, the pressure will be on them. They cannot afford to lose another round, or 3 points will slip beneath their fingers. And as we continue, we are on the other side, Barn and Gaming. And slowly the bedroom is being taken under control right here by TT9. There's no real fight back or, well, any contention whatsoever from MnM.
All right, TT9. I would still say the momentum is potentially in your favor here. Trying to swing round one last round home to put yourself into this pressure onto a map that has, I'm going to say, in a lot of other teams' cases, outstayed its welcome with your lost record on the most recent split. Now's the time for new beginnings. No more so than with a new banner flying probably pretty proudly over your heads. The attention paid its way around towards the top of blue stairs. We talk about this being a sort of synergetic position. You've got the player around onto the pillar and the fireplace. You've got the one that is their support structure, and TT9's just trying to cut them off the old traditional way. Start here with the break over the other side of the top. Maybe some attention onto the windows, and none currently actually fully formed around the bedroom.
Slowly but still opening up the site. The floors, taking care of some PC utility and finding information. All still preparative work coming down. Grenades being tossed down range. Flashbangs actually to get rid of any potential projectile catching device. Now the shield will be taken care of. That means they can now actively take a fight onto the blue stairs. WTG is still afraid though of someone being next to that fireplace shaft onto the mezzanines right here. And he's not wrong because Tyrant is on there. And Solotov will find that very first kill. MnM finds yet another.
Wow, there it is. Suddenly, in the blink of an eye, they've lost 2 big players there. Nico and Mission both off the board early here. MnM's just gone for the swing before it became a problem. Tyrant survives by the skin of his teeth. They're able to find another one there. It's a fight onto the door. Scyther finally ends it, but there's another swing round. Solotov is able to get one more for the trouble. Exodus, all that's left, back in the position. He gives the game away with a couple of preemptive pops. But with the kit a few steps into the location, the yellow ping on this player, he wants to try and win the first, tries to bait the movement, there it is, but they're not fully forming it. It's a swing from Nello, and it's a map point from MnM.
Oh, it's good to see MnM definitely learned from that clutch from a mission earlier on. They're playing it more passively now. They're not trying to swing everything they can at the moment they have such a big advantage. So, you know, it should never happen, a 1v5 clutch. It happened once, MnM, they learned of it, fair enough. But if they don't win this next round, then it's definitely costing them massively here. As it could have been a 7-4 victory at this point if they would have just been passive enough. And Wine and Snowmobile is coming up next as potentially the final sight of this game tonight. 3 men stuck in the door is unfortunate there. So, a lot of traffic through that area. Now, MnM need to be flawless here. They cannot afford a mistake. Otherwise, they will be going towards overtime. But at the same time, TT9, if they mess up their round, they'll be losing out on every single point they could possibly get out of this matchup today.
If MnM get anything less than full points at this point, that round, you know which round I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that round
that's the reason
is
why.
going to haunt them for the whole season.
Imagine you're going to be a point short at the end of the stage for making it to the major. You're going to be looking back. It's the very first Playday, round 7, that you thought you had in the bag, and you went a bit too aggressive. You became a bit too confident. And suddenly you find yourself a mission who shuts you all out one by one. That'd be the reason why.
TT9, one more opportunity here to try and push it over. It wasn't so much the last split that they were entirely pushed aside during that games. They were close, but close is the difference between being at the bottom of the board and being at a major, and the fact that they can put so much of a fight into MnM, who were at the most recent major. It does spell at least some promise for the potential of them to be eyeing up one of those spots. Solotov, he's holding off here towards the Solarium window, waiting for the approach round onto the bedroom, waiting for the swing here. It's Exodus, a little bit isolated, who is also waiting for his own support structure onto the double window itself. Emission wants to go for the swing at the same time. It's a pre-fire round, did a little bit of damage to Solotov. He's tucked tail, just behind, and pulled himself to a bit of safety, slipped away.
Still alive, still around though on the bedroom, trying to put up some pressure. Tyron also coming over now towards the half wall just to make sure there is some extra protection as Nello goes for a jump out. Will fight Scyther, but somehow gets down. I'm not sure if there was a Claymore or something else that injured him there, but he's outside and will not be picked up, so surely he's going to be dealt with at well due moment. Flashbangs to come in, WCG to go aggressive, gets down, and will eventually be locked off by Tyrant.
Yeah, threw it as a bit of a gambit and hoped he'd force the run and tried to run into it before they were both blinded, but I mean, you're flipping a coin. You never really know how it's going to pop up. There's a bit of a swing and an attention round on the far side. You can see Nello is obviously still down outside as well. Being in that position, well, it's an easy pickup there. Exodus gets the lock-in, and it was going to be a very tricky pickup if MnM had tried to go for the saving grace route. A 4 versus 3. Just over a minute left here. Emission with the route down, potentially through onto the site itself. Nico might try and go for the hold out. That's an air jab that, well, I mean, it should get removed. But the player does. They had no idea Solotov was there.
Exodus now going on the chase down the back stairs, hoping to make a difference for his team because they're so close to points. He will not find a first. It's Solotov that will lock him off, and it's only up to Emission, who else, to try and lock this off. He will find a first again. He needs to find 3 more. He does have the diffuser this time around, so he's just heading right to the side. But he needs to be careful as someone is coming down the staircase. It's not just 1, but it's 2. It's users that will find him, and it's going to be the 3 points for MnM. They will be victorious here against TT9, but it got so close.
I mean, it did. And it was closer than it should have been by a lot of people's scoreboards in 2 different reasons. MnM suffered a couple of rounds, but you cannot deny TT9 definitely showed up throughout this game. They leave with nothing today, but the energy that they might be able to carry across, no more so than Emission.
I really hope he continues to be in this form for the rest of the stage, because that will be a sight to behold. But unfortunately, TT9 not able to pick up any points here today. For the first time this year, beaten by MnM, who pick up the full 3 points. And yet again, the Chalet curse continues on. 5 for 5 now for them, not being able to win it. Will that change anytime soon? Who knows?
Well, what we do know is we're throwing it back over to our desk after a very quick break.